Hey everyone, it's Evelyn. It's June now. I can't believe the years have gone. It's just crazy. But that actually means it's time for a Roadside Flower Wagon update because things have changed. Now, as you will remember, if you've been following along with me, when I started the Roadside Flower Wagon, I had steps attached to the side of it, and I was selling my spring bulbs, starting with hyacinths that were in bloom, although not fully in bloom. As you can see by this picture, they're still partially closed, but they put out the color. I also had pots of tulips and daffodils inside the flower wagon, which were not yet open, but I had a poster in there that, oh, I don't have it handy. I had a poster in there that showed what the pots of tulips and daffodils looked like open with their name and the names in grease pencil on the actual pots so that people could match up the photo to the pot, and was selling daffodils and tulips that way. So that was, I started the flower wagon, I believe, the last week in March. And that carried on until it was time, no longer time to be selling them because they were pretty much all finished. And then I graduated to my pre-started dahlias in my little containers that I do in juice or milk containers. And that would be for May 1st because I get all my dahlias planted out in the garden so that they're all planted by May 1st so that I can get them into the flower wagon, the extras, to sell at May 1st. And so then the steps are now holding those containers of the dahlias rather than the spring bulbs. For June, it's now too late to be selling the dahlias. It's not quite too late. I'm actually going to keep a few out there for people who realize that they're not on the steps anymore and hope that, rather than having them phone me, I just keep a few more out there. But you'll see where they are when we actually get out to the flower wagon because we will be going out there. I'm just in my office for now to go over a few photos because it's the middle of the day and I can't take my computer outside with me or my phone to look at the pictures because it's just too bright and I won't be able to see anything. Anyway, so we'll go over the pictures in here and then we'll head out and look at the flower wagon in person. So for June, meaning I, don't really have any flowering potted plants to sell this year. Next year I should have, oh no, they'll be finished now. I will have been selling Candy Tuft, but those will of course long be finished. Those will be finished about the second or third week in May. And the lavender, I'm doing Alba Noir lavender, which is a white blooming lavender. I'll have that for sale next year, and that's just starting to bloom now. So that will actually be the replacement for the dahlias next year. So what have I got this year? Well, some of the things are just a continuation of what I've had in the previous months. And what I have is in my flower wagon, there's a shelf up top. Leela wants to say hi. And Esri's over here wanting to say hi too. I'm talking, they think I'm talking to them. They got no clue there's my phone's over there. Oh, there's the other one. Okay, you guys. That's good. Good dogs. No more. No, no, no. No, off. Good dog. And the phone wobbles. So on the top shelf, I sell short little vases, or not quite vases. And I mentioned that before, but I'm going to go over the ones that I have sold this year up to date, what I bought them for, what I sold them for, just for your own interest. So this first one, this little rooster pot, I bought it for $1. I sold it for $5. Where's my little mousy thing? There it is. This particular one I bought for $2 and I sold for $8. This is much larger. This vase I bought for $8 and I sold for $25. This vase I bought for $2 and I sold for $8. This little owl, I forgot to record what I bought it for, but I'm guessing around $2 and I sold it for $10. And this vase I bought for $7 and it was stolen. So I had one vase stolen to date at the flower wagon. And you kind of gotta expect that because it's up on the road and I am open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And as with every other city, there's people who do help themselves with stuff, and that's just life. But, you know, I'm still ahead on the incoming money from the vases versus the outgoing. So that's okay. It's something I only sold one, and it was only $7 worth of purchase price. So I also sell vases when things start to bloom with flowers in them. So the top shelf I definitely keep for the short little vases that I can't actually get any flowers into because they don't have enough space within them for my stems. Well, some of them do, but I keep all the short ones up there. And then the taller vases, I will do the really big ones, I'll sell empty to match up with bouquets. But the in-between size, I will put flowers in and sell them as flower arrangements. And for me, the beginning, that would be with the anemones, because the anemones started blooming around mid-May, and they're still blooming. The ranunculus are just starting to come online. I'm just, in the last few days, been getting ranunculus. And other than that, I don't have small flowers to put in flower arrangements. So the first flower arrangement that I'm going to go over with you is this one that's up on the screen here. I'm going to actually move over a bit so that I can put a bigger picture here. Okay, so this one I bought for, oh, I didn't put the price what I bought this one for. That doesn't help. I sold it for 20 with the flowers in it. And what I have in there is I have 6 anemones and 1 astilbe branch for a total of 7 items in there. And just the white, caramel white anemones and 1 astilbe branch. And that's it. And I sold that for 20. This next one, I bought the vase for $3. Again, I have 6 anemones in it, and that's it. And I sold it again for 20. I try to have a $20 price tag. It's sort of a standard unless the vase to me looks too cheap for that, or I can't get enough flowers in it for that. This next arrangement, this is an example of that. So this next arrangement I bought for $2, and I only put 3 anemones in and 1 astilbe branch, and I sold it for 15 because the vase wasn't anything particularly special. This vase I bought for $3. I have 6 anemones and 1 astilbe branch, and I sold it for 20. This vase I bought for, where am I here? 5. And with the 6 anemones and 1 astilbe branch, I sold for 20. This vase I bought for 6. That was a little bit of a higher priced one, but I bought it anyway because I actually have had 2 very similar vases in that purple glass with that sort of wavy top, and they both sold, so I knew that this one would sell, so I thought, well, I'll pay a little bit more than I normally would have for that kind of vase, and I just won't make as much money on it because I know it will sell. Anyway, so again, what did I say, $6 I paid for the vase. I've got I think I've got 6 anemones in there again and an astilbe branch, and I sold it for 20. This particular vase, which I call the eagle vase, that little image on it that it's really, really hard to see is actually a widespread, an eagle with its wings out. I bought that vase for $2. I had a bit of an excess of anemones that were starting to get almost to the point where they're going to be too old to get used, and they weren't long enough stems to use in the bouquets, so I just tossed a few more in there, and I sold it for 20. I sold it in about 1 hour. Put it out there, and an hour later it was sold, so clearly somebody understood the value of that deal. But anyway, sometimes you just, okay, I've got the flowers, I cannot use them and compost them, or I can add them in there and help make a quicker sale. This vase I bought for don't have the price of that one down on there. Sorry about that, but I sold it for 20. And again, you can see it's got 6 anemones in it, but no white ones this time. It's got 3 pastels. Oh, no, it's got 1 ranunculus in there. Okay, so it's got 3 pastel anemones, caramel pastel, 2 Marron Bordeaux anemones, and 1, what is that ranunculus called? I do not remember. I'll put it up on the screen. And yeah, and so that sold for 20 as well. So that sort of gives you an idea of the prices I'm paying for the vases that I'm thrifting, how few flowers I'm putting in there. I mean, I'm not putting very many flowers in there at all, and I'm literally just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Astilbe leaf, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Astilbe leaf. I can't use the Astilbe leaves anymore because they've really shot up to start blooming, and so now the leaves are not holding up, especially now that we've gotten warmer. So the Astilbe leaf is being actually replaced with a 7th anemone, because they're really pumping out right now. So it's really easy. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Stick them in the vase, put the price tag on it, and put it out there really, really fast. No arranging, fancy, just a quick count. So that works out really, really well. Also, if you're enjoying this video, please consider giving me a like. Now, let's get on with the rest of this video before we go outside and look at the flower wagon. The other thing I sell at the flower wagon, which I've mentioned in previous videos, and you have seen in my other flower wagon videos, not the first one, but the second one, so that would be May, is I sell what I call pop can flowers. So I'll put this picture up here. And as you can see, I've got really just anemones in them right now because that's what's really, really, really producing. And I put 3 in a pop can, and 1 pop can sells for $4. And 3 pop cans, if you buy 3, you get them for $10. Now you will notice I've got relatively long stems on the anemones, but they're still too short for the bouquets. So the anemones whose stem length are too short for bouquets either make the flower arrangements or the pop cans. The anemones that are the sulfide dicyon, they had really long stems last year, and they were planted in a shady spot, but this year they're just all coming up short stem, but that's perfect because I have the pop cans for those. And they sell as often as the white ones do. People, if they like that color, they don't care how short the stems are. So it's a really, really good way to move short-stemmed flowers. And I do sell quite a few pop cans. So then aside from the pop cans, of course, then we now have bouquets. I started being able to put bouquets together about mid-May, just in time for Mother's Day, literally just in time for Mother's Day. And the Mother's Day bouquets were, as you can see in this bouquet, comprised of rhododendrons, kale flowers, which are the yellow flowers, bluebells, which come up very long stemmed in my garden because they are all growing in shady spots, but they come back year after year after year, and they get lots and lots of water because we are a wet climate. And I also have, for foliage, other than the rhododendron foliage, I put in 3 stems of snowberry branches. So those were the basis of all of my Mother's Day bouquets. And the rhododendrons were only just starting to bloom. So I literally, the last bouquet I made on Mother's Day was the last available rhododendrons I had to cut to use for Mother's Day. And then I had no bouquets for quite a few days, which was unfortunate. But then the rhododendrons came stronger online, and I had them again, except now this time the bluebells were finished. But the alliums were starting to bloom, specifically the Mount Everest allium. It bloomed, out of all of the alliums that I have in the garden, it bloomed first. Next year I'll have Purple Sensation. We'll see if it blooms before the Mount Everest or after, because it is one of the first alliums to bloom. So I'm looking forward to having Purple Sensation next year, thanks to Marie at Florison Farms. Okay, so same thing. I've got the kale flowers, the rhododendrons for the flower and the foliage. I've got the snowberry branches. I've got the Mount Everest allium poking out the top. But this time, because the bluebells created a certain amount of mass at the top of the bouquet, and the rhododendrons tend to fall out, as do the kale flowers, and the allium just pokes up high, I needed something for a bit of a filler in the center of the top of the bouquet. So this is the first time I have ever literally cut camellia branch to use in the bouquet, and that worked out perfect because the new leaves on the camellia have that more olive tone to them, and the older leaves are this deep green. So it added a lot of dance and rhythm within the 2 shades of green in the center of the bouquet. So even though it wasn't a flower, that worked out really, really well. The peonies started coming online about a week after that. So then what I was able to do, Ito peonies. My Ito peonies bloom before herbaceous peonies. And that's what they do. They bloom first. And that's perfect for me because that's the timetable that I need. I needed the Ito peonies specifically because of the time period that they bloom. So I have 2 rhododendrons and then 2 Ito peonies. Oh, and the first Ito peony that bloomed for me is Morning Lilac. Now, it is in a location that I had marked on my map as pink double dandy, but it turns out it's not pink double dandy. It's a morning lilac. So I don't know if that was a mistake on my part or a mistake on the labeling of the root system when I originally bought it. I have a feeling it was a mistake on the root system because I'm pretty good at marking things down. Anyway, so along with the 2 peonies and the 2 rhododendrons, I now have the anemones that I can add in above them for a little bit of lightness and sunlight to dance if you want, as well as the white Mount Everest allium in the background. Again, I'm doing my camellia branch, and I'm using the leaves of the peonies along with the leaves of the rhododendron to help fill out that collar with nice, beautiful foliage. And as we get more into the end of May and June, I am now pretty much done with the rhododendrons because they're done. And we're now entering the era of the peony bouquets, as well as my Globemaster allium. So I still have a couple of the Mount Everest alliums, and I have a lot of the Globemaster alliums. And in this bouquet, I'm still using the kale flowers. But I am now really simplifying my recipe so that what I'm using in my recipe is this next picture, which I posted on my posts page. It's an allium. Well, first the camellia branches, 1 allium down between it. Not allium. Yeah, 1 allium down in between it, the big globe. In this case, Mount Everest, point here. Then I'm having anemones circling around it with the long stems, whichever long stemmed ones I have to have, and then 3 peonies, and that's it. And this bouquet where it's yellow, that's Bartzella. And that's it. That's all I'm putting in the recipe. So it goes really, really fast. Camellia branch, allium, anemones, peonies, cut, tie, done. So I'm really, really happy with how fast I can put those together. I did, last week I did a video on my peony recipes, and that was where I was experimenting, and I was playing with more things in there because it's always good to play. And I do love how that bouquet turned out. And I love that as a peony bouquet. But for the flower wagon, I want to simplify it as much as I can so that I can put it together as fast as possible. And this is the recipe that I'm using to put it together as fast as possible, and it does go really fast. And there's only, the camellia branch, the allium, 3 to 5 anemones, depending on what I feel like putting in there. 1, 2, 3, and then 3 peonies. So 8 to 10 stems in there, and that's it. It's done. Call it a day. So I'm really, really happy with that. Oh, here's another one with the same recipe that I put together yesterday. And this now has what I think is the pink double dandy in it. And it's the same recipe. It's got the 3 peonies. It's got the Mount Everest allium. It's got the camellia branch. There's one more thing in here that's just slightly different that I added in just to experiment with. It's got now a branch of parsley with small umbels on top. I cut one walking by. I just wanted to see how it looked in with the bouquet. Don't need it in here, but I just wanted to try it out. So because I tried it out, it went up to the flower wagon. Okay, so if you're enjoying this video again and you've already liked, but you haven't yet subscribed, please take a moment and subscribe. Do appreciate that. It does help with the channel. Thanks very much. We're now going to, because we're talking about the June flower wagon, I've showed you what the bouquets look like at the beginning of June for the flower wagon, and you will see that when we get out to the video. But because I kept a blooming chart, I will now know what else I can look forward to that's blooming in June. And so for instance, and this is last year's chart. So my ranunculus last year started at the beginning of June. So they're actually pretty much bang on in time for that. So I can really start looking forward to a lot more ranunculus. I can look forward to my bachelor buttons starting to bloom, and they look like they should be blooming in another week. Hard to tell. My herbaceous peonies should come online 1 week into June. So when you're watching this, I'm filming this on Wednesday. You're watching this on Saturday. That'll be the 6th, so that shouldn't be too far away. The foxgloves are already blooming. I'm not using them if I don't have to. I've got my sweet peas last year started in the for the final week of June, so they've still got a ways to go based on last year. Same as the sunflowers, although we've got a stretch of really sunny weather the next 2 weeks, which is really unusual for us for the first 2 weeks of June. June is usually a really wet month here. We call it January, as in it feels like January, but it's June after having a warm May. But we didn't have a warm May. We had a cooler than usual May and a much wetter May. And now we're into a stretch of 2 weeks of sun and quite warm. So it's like May and June have flipped. So we shall see. Those sunflowers might actually bloom earlier. Same with the sweet peas. Same with the snapdragons, which I'm also looking forward to, as well as yarrow, astilbe, and the first dahlia bloomed in the final week of June. So those could bloom earlier or not. But those are the flowers that I'm looking forward to being able to use in my bouquets or flower arrangements in the month of June that aren't quite ready yet. Now, I am going to turn you off, run over into where my clothes are, put on my sunglasses, put on a hat, and I will meet you outside and we will look at the flower wagon. Okay, we're outside now. The flower wagon is up there on the road. We're going to walk over there, and on the way there I'll just point out a few things because why not? So I'll flip you around and let's head up there. First of all, my rhododendron is in full bloom, and while I said the rhododendrons were done, my rhododendron does not do well as a cut flower. I tried it again this year. I tried it 2 years ago, and then I thought, well, I'll test it out again this year. And yeah, I cut some stems, and within the third day, they were just like absolute toast. So that's I don't know what variety that is, but I cannot use it as a cut flower. We've limbed it up so that we can do some underplanting, and I can do some fun things on the fence. And I love the way the stems look, but really it's not there being useful for anything in my cut flower garden. We have a dog here who just put her ball beside Mr. Crow. So let's grab that. Let's look down the driveway, throw the ball, and there she goes. Okay, we're going to walk down this pathway here, head this way. This is just one other thing. Oh, my lavender, the white noir, Alba Noir lavender is in the back gardens. I don't sell anything off this purple one. It's quite leggy, but that's okay. And over here, look at this beautiful petunia. This was actually given to us by our neighbors. They sold, neighbors on that side, they sold their house and had to move out on June 1st. And as a thank you for being their neighbors, they gave that to us before they left, which I thought was very, very nice. Okay, we have to go up 2 steps to a gate to get to the flower wagon. This is how much below grade we are. I have to open that. Then we open this other gate. The double gates were because when the dogs were puppies, we worried about them getting out into the busy road. Don't have to worry about that anymore. I then have to go up another 2 steps to get to the flower wagon. And you will notice that it is no longer straight with this, but turned, and there's no longer any steps coming off the back of it. And that's because with the steps, it just infringes out there too much. And it's turned because of the sun. Trying to keep the sun off the flower wagon as much as possible. And the sun comes from over there, comes across the sky and down that way. So this buys me a few hours. So no more steps on the flower wagon. So we come around the front of it. This is the shelf I was talking about, that I have my little vases along here. And they all have little price tags on them depending what they are. This is a hand-painted sign, so it's more expensive than the others. This one's just something cute novelty, so it's cheaper. So that's that shelf. I've kept a few dahlias just for a few days over here for people who wanted to buy them and haven't, and that way they don't have to phone me because I have my phone number up on my sign to ask me if I have any more. They'll be here, and probably by the time you're watching this video, they'll be gone. I have the sign here that says dahlias. This is where people pay. They pay in here. There's my keyhole for unlocking it, and at the back from my office window, I can still see if there's money in there. So that works out really, really well. And then in the flower wagon, I have a bouquet. I'm only putting out one a day of the, or not one a day, one at a time of the peony bouquets, just because of the sun. It's quite hot out here. I do have to pay attention to that. The amount of heat that it gets out here is much more than if it was an enclosed flower stand that had a little bit of air conditioning in it. So there's the one big vase that they can buy to have along with the bouquet if they want. Here's a, I guess I should keep the price tag facing out. Here's a vase with just some of the anemones, etc. sitting in it. Here's a vase that's more like a Percy kind of thing with the anemones in it. And there's another one that was like that purple one with some anemones in it. And then I have the pop cans. So that's what I have in the flower wagon. The bouquet, the big vase, the pop cans, little vases, still just a few dahlias, not too many, and a very simple sign that says flowers today, that makes it really easy for people to read when they're driving by in the car. And it's reflective, so headlights will shine that up. So that's what's happening at the flower wagon for the month of June. The only thing that will change in there for the month of June is the type of flowers that are in there. The dahlias will be disappearing, like I said, probably the day you're watching this. My dahlias that I planted are much bigger than the ones in the pots because they can do bigger root system. These are what my dahlias are looking like right now. I mean, here's my hand, for example. They're much, much bigger. So I keep my dahlias at about 15 inches apart. And the reason for that is so that there's plenty of room for the tubers. But I also will come along and dig a little trench and do some composting in between the plants of the flower debris from my bouquet making station. So I'll just do a little, like I'm over to here now. So I've just finished going through here. And I know that I won't hit any tubers or anything if I dig the little trench here, because I make sure all the tubers face the same way. So coming through here, I won't hit them. And I'm constantly doing some direct composting every day. I just do a section, like there's 4 dahlias in a row here. So that's 4 sections of direct composting. And all through the course of the dahlia season, all these dahlias in here will slowly get direct composted into. And I only like to do a little bit because I don't want to disrupt the soil too much. So the biology in the soil, only a little tiny area gets disrupted at a time. But anyway, that's that. My feverfew that just sort of sells seeds is doing its own thing. And I'm going to flip you around just one sec. See, here's my foxgloves blooming happily away. More of them in the back. I decided to go out into our deck because it's much quieter here, obviously, than in the front garden. And my deck is above our garage. Literally right below where I'm standing is the bouquet making station. Just to have a little bit of a nice view in the background. You saw I have a blooming schedule that shows what's blooming well when, and I mentioned what would be blooming for the rest of June. I did a video where I go over one bouquet every week for the whole season last year, so that you can actually see the transition of the bouquets from the beginning of the season to the very end. And I thought if you haven't watched that, that would be really interesting to watch, just to see how the bouquets change as the season progresses. So if you haven't watched that, really think you should check that out. It'll be up here, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.